Hello students, in my last video I had told you about pollination. Pollination is the transfer of pollen grain from anthers to the stigma. Transfer of pollen grain from anthers to stigma. Anther is the male reproductive part and this pistil is the female reproductive part. So, when pollen grains fall on the stigma through pollination or after pollination, this pollen grain starts developing a small tube. One of these pollen grains starts elongating, forming longer and longer, forms a deep tube and enters the central part, the what we call as the ovary of the flower. Stigma, style and ovary are the parts of female reproductive part called as the pistil, or we call it as carpel. This is together called a pistil or a carpel. Now, when the pollen grain falls on the stigma, it develops a tube which we call as pollen tube. This pollen tube will be containing the male germ cell. In short, pollen grains contain the male germ cell. That male germ cell travels through the pollen tube and then enters the ovary. In the ovary, there are female germ cells which are present in the ovules. Female germ cells are present in the ovules. So, this male germ cell passes through the pollen tube and fuses with the female germ cell. This is what we call as fertilization. Transfer of pollen grain is called pollination. Now, after the pollen grain has fallen on the stigma and it starts developing a pollen tube, the male germ cell from the pollen passes through the pollen tube and fuses with the female germ cell which is present in the ovary, which you call as the ovule. Ovules contain the female germ cell. The fusion of male germ cell with the female germ cell in the ovary we call as fertilization. This fertilization results in the formation of a zygote. Fusion of male germ cell with the female germ cell we call as fertilization. After fertilization, a zygote is formed. This zygote divides and redivides to form the embryo. So here we have shown the germination of pollen grain, right? This embryo later changes into the seed. Changes into a seed. It develops hard coats which we call as a seed coat. This seed, embryo starts developing into a seed and it forms hard coats which we call as seed coats. And this ovary turns into the fruit. Right? So ovules change into the seeds, whereas the ovary changes into the fruit. Gradually, all the other parts, that is the petals, the stamens, the sepals, all these fall down. They are all accessories. All the accessories, including the male part, that is the stamens, etc., fall down. And this forms a fruit. Inside the fruit, we find the seeds. Seeds containing the embryo. Seeds contains the embryo, that is which gives birth to a new plant. Right? This embryo later develops into a new plant. Growing of a new plant from the seed we call as germination. See, we see many grains like the paddy or the wheat or jowar or maize or gram seeds, lentils, right? These seeds we store for a longer time. They can stay for a longer time, maybe 6 months or 1 year, or sometimes we keep it for even more time. We preserve them, right? When the seeds get favorable conditions, that is, seeds get dried after the formation, is it not? After the seeds get the favorable conditions, that is water, they start germinating into a new plant. They start forming a new plant. For example, a green that you call a chana dal, right? Gram, chana dal. Suppose you soak chana or gram in a water, it will suck water. Or even the green gram, moong or what you call, even the green gram or black any gram. You soak in water, they will absorb water and become swollen. After they become swollen, gradually they start developing a small whitish colored structure which is called as the radicle, which is called as the radicle. This radicle contains the future root. This radicle contains the future root. Then after some days, they start forming small green leaf-like structures which we call as plumule. Right? This first radicle comes out. This radicle later grows into the root. Then comes the plumule. This plumule later grows into the shoot. Right? This growing of a new plant from the seed we call as germination. And this we call as the endosperm. This is the cotyledon. So long as the plant is unable to produce food through photosynthesis, that is, before the leaves are formed and the plant is able to produce its own food, this endosperm provides nutrition for the growing baby plant. The endosperm contains the reserve food, you can say. Endosperm provides nutrition or nourishment to the growing baby plant. Once the plumule is coming out, these plumules then form the shoot. They start giving leaves. They start branching slowly. So there is vertical growth towards the soil. That is, the radicle grows into the root. And the plumule grows into the shoot. It starts branching, forming leaves. And then slowly the plant starts producing its own food through photosynthesis. Once the photosynthesis starts, these cotyledons fall down. Their work is over. Their work is only to provide nourishment during the germination time. See, we soak seeds in the house. After soaking seeds for overnight or 5 or 6 hours, we drain the water from the seeds and tie these grains in a wet cloth, or even you keep it open. After 3 or 4 days, you start getting baby plants, new plants coming out from these swollen grains or soaked grains, which we call as sprouting. We call as sprouting. We eat sprouted seeds. Sprouted seeds are more nourishing, right? More nourishing than the dry seeds. We start sprouting is nothing but germination, formation of a new plant from the seed. During this middle period, that is, once the seeds are formed and before they get favorable condition, the seeds doesn't grow. Seeds do not grow at all. Seeds remain dormant. We call it as dormancy. Means seed becomes inactive. Seed becomes inactive. There is a gap between the formation of the seed and formation of a new plant. This period of inactiveness we call as dormancy. Once the seeds get favorable condition, that is, we sow the seeds and water them, then they start growing into new plant. Right? So there are three stages in the sexual reproduction of plants. First is pollination, that is transfer of pollen from stamens to stigma. Second, fusion of the male germ cell with the female germ cell in the ovary, that is called as fertilization. After fertilization, the seeds are formed from the ovules, ovary forms the fruit, and all the other parts of the flower fall down. This seed develops a hard coating, that is seed coats, remains dormant for some time. Once it gets a favorable condition, it starts growing into a new plant, which you call germination. Pollination, fertilization and germination. Three stages in the sexual reproduction of plants. Right? In my next video, I will discuss about sexual reproduction in human beings. Okay, I will discuss about sexual reproduction in human beings, that is in particular, and in animals in general. How does sexual reproduction take place in animals? What are unisexual animals and what are bisexual animals? Some lower animals are having both the sexes, right? Male and female sex organs are in the same organism, and most of them are unisexual, having single, only male reproductive part or the female reproductive part, right? Till then, keep reading and watch my video. Thank you. Okay.